The book I chose to read for our environmental science class is called Unquenchable: America's Water Crisis and What to Do About It. The author of the book is named Robert Glennon, and he, as well as this book, have been featured on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. A little bit about the author: he has a PhD in history from the Brandeis University. He's currently a professor at the Arizona State University. Um, Many of his classes having to do with law and public policy. Many specifically about the water crisis we are currently undergoing. He has written many books, and he has very many awards on the environment and how the law affects and relates to our environment. One such award being the Rachel Carson Award for reporting on the environment. This book was published in April 2009 by the publishing company Island Press. In this informational yet entertaining book, America's water problems are discussed and potential solutions are given. The book focuses on both the technical and political challenges for supplying water for three necessary but competing interests. Those being areas of increasing population density, the necessity that we continually support nature, and, to quote the author, the industrial and energy applications undergirding the economy. The book covers a wide variety of water-related topics, examining the supply, demand, and quality issues around the nation. The chapters include a vast amount of information, including the human right to groundwater, groundwater contamination by pesticides and other pollutants, the problem that groundwater overdraft creates, the legal system for allocating water rights in the western United States, which is known as the prior appropriation doctrine. The prior appropriation doctrine gives surface water rights to first-in-time users, so they're able to divert water for their own personal use, but they do not have full rights to the water. So, for example, they cannot resell it. The latest plans to transfer water from some parts of the country to others is discussed. Different methods of water reuse, water conservation techniques and practices, the problem of combined sewer overflows. A big part of the book concerns water pricing issues and different options surrounding that. And finally, the agricultural uses and some of the new agricultural technologies that we're beginning to see today. Although there's a vast amount of information provided in Unquenchable, the coverage does not bore the reader with too much technical details. Much of the information provided is given in the way of specific case studies that examine fundamental science, scientific, historical, and legal areas of water issues. As the expert hydrologist paints an increasingly vivid picture of the state of water in America, the reader learns of the negative effects of groundwater overdraft in different geographic regions, water transfers from agricultural use to urban use, and different conservation efforts, or in many cases, the lack thereof. The author successfully instills wide-ranging lessons from his presentation of individual case studies, like that of Las Vegas, where water officials have been implementing conservation schemes, but still hold ambitious visions of large-scale water transfer projects, like diverting the Mississippi River to the desert southwest. Glennon begins his book with an account of Las Vegas, which is a metropolis in the middle of the desert. The city's casinos are popularly seen as extreme water wasters, yet the Bellagio's fountains use water from wells that has irrigated the golf course previously on site, and the entire hotel actually uses less water than the golf course did. A big topic that the author talks about is the process of desalination and its ability that we can use. So although many think that this process of removing salt and other minerals from the ocean water may be helpful in the future, the reality is that the economic cost of the process greatly diminishes the practicality of actually using it. Costs too much to make the drinking water, it's not really worth it. The point is made clearly that the nation's water supply challenges will not be resolved through traditional methods such as building dams, creating reservoirs, channeling rivers, and pumping groundwater. More so, the ideas and philosophy about water from the days of old remain present today, but with new knowledge and understanding about the growing water crisis, many of us need to take a second look about just how we use this finite, exhaustible resource. As the author states, business as usual just won't cut it. Many cases are presented where water has been transferred among different uses, typically those being from a more agricultural to a more urban use. And the author describes the ingenuity behind some of these exchanges as impressive. And clearly, water transfers will be an important component of future management regimens in the United States. Agriculture is the largest user of water in the nation. Clearly, much of that has good reason behind it. Food production is very important in society. This large amount of water is not easily sold or transferred to municipal and industrial users because of what the author calls third-party considerations. An example of a third-party consideration could be a downstream ecosystem that depended on stream flows that were diverted when an upstream user sold and diverted the water rights to another user. And these can cause wide-ranging negative effects for people and ecosystems alike. I learned a lot from the book. The water crisis that America is currently undergoing is actually a result of a combination of issues unique to each region's culture, laws, geology, and hydrology, along with larger, more general water management challenges that are common across the nation. There are a number of creative water conservation technologies and policies that are currently helping us reduce a lot of our per capita use, which will be very important to the wiser use of water in our future. There are many instances in which conservation incentives actually represent savings and economic incentives for adoption. For instance, low flush toilets over the course of their lives often pay for themselves in the money that you save paying for the water. However, one proposal that the author brings up is raising the water prices in our households, but these proposals, which would actually encourage more efficient use of water, tend to meet a lot of both political and social resistance. People generally don't want to pay more for what they feel they should, or they have a right to. In 1983, the Federal Water Resources Council that was established to facilitate cross-agency dialogue and communication on water management topics had been eliminated from the nation's budget and has not ever met since 1983. And to quote the author, no effective mechanism currently ensures that the federal agencies work together towards sensible water quality and supply outcomes. In conclusion, although many areas have implemented policies on water conservation, many areas still need to reduce demand even more. The author writes the reality that reusing, desalinating, and conserving water may help to alleviate our crises, but will not solve the problem. The nation's policies, laws, and attitudes for allocating and using water resources have their roots in an earlier era, but past practices do not reflect today's supply, demand, and quality realities. Standard institutional rigidity and inertia make change difficult, and many interest groups benefit from current allocations and arrangements. Both contest proposed changes that are not in their favor. Better management of the nation's water resources will require shifts in how officials and citizens alike think about water. As the book states, water is a valuable, exhaustible resource, but as Las Vegas did until just a few years ago, we treat it as valueless and inexhaustible.